Hey everybody, OmniDog here. Thanks for tuning in to this special edition Books for Spooktober. That's right, 2017 edition of spooky books to read for the month of October. And I'm going to have to make this a two-part episode because it turns out I actually have a ton of spooky books and I probably am forgetting some, but I just did a quick scan of the Batcave and came up with what I could and what I've read and can recommend. So, without further ado, let's find some books that you can enjoy for October. Let's start out with what's on the top of the stack. Oh, Crawlspace. This is by Rick Remender, and I enjoyed this book. Not all the stories are as strong. The first story I like the most, that's called Night Mary. It's about a gal that can experience other people's dreams and affect change in it and what happens. I thought that was a really strong story. Then there's a story with porn stars fighting zombies, and that's where this headshot comes from. It's a fun book. Little uneven, but it's not. It's huge. This is absolute size. It's a little uneven, but I still think it's worth the purchase. You can get it off of in stock trades, I think, for like $25 or something. And given how big it is, I think it's worth the purchase. And it gives the right amount of sort of creepy crawlies. Let's see. Here's a book that I just got done reading, and you'll love the cover. Colder. Check that cover out. This book is by Dark Horse, and it's about a guy that can take away other people's madness, but in doing so, his body grows colder. And he's got a couple of evil guys after him who like to spread madness. It has got some disturbing imagery in it. It's pretty graphic, but it's well written. I really liked it, and I liked the ending. And I really dug it. It's a pretty long read, and you get the sense that the author, who is Paul Tobin, really knew what he wanted to do with it, beginning, middle, and end. It doesn't suffer any slow spots, so I highly recommend Colder. The premise is great, that he just grows colder as he helps cure mental illness, but he's still trying to deal with these two almost Joker-like characters who feed on others' madness. So it's a good, creepy book that I highly recommend for Spooktober. Next up, this is a little bit more of a psychological thriller, but it's still good. It's House of Secrets, omnibus, big, thick Vertigo book, and it deals with a woman named Rain who somehow gets transported to this house where the jurists, they're called, sit in judgment of people, and she's forced to agree with them, but she also tries to help out the victims. The story's really well told. I love Steven Stephen T. Seagal. Now, the only issue is some people don't like Teddy Christensen's art. I happen to like it. I believe he did the artwork on the other Steven Seagal book, which was It's a Bird. I happen to dig Teddy Christensen's art, so it's a bit more of a psychological thriller. It's got a real solid start. First half of the book is fantastic. Then it slows down a little bit, and then it finishes strong. So, kind of like a defective Oreo cookie. It's got a kind of not great middle, but the beginning and end are good. So I still think it's a worthwhile purchase. I think it's out of print, but can be found quite easily for cheap on eBay. Let me give you one more shot of some of this art. But it can still be found for quite cheap on eBay. and I think you'd really like it. Another good book that I don't have with me right now is House of Mystery. That's available in trade paperbacks. House of Mystery's really good. I really liked House of Mystery. That's also by DC. I found that to be highly enjoyable. All of those trade paperbacks I did. Um, we can bang out a couple of quick ones here that are very well known already. You probably already heard of them. You probably know about them, especially the first one, which is, of course, Hellboy. Hellboy is Hellboy. he came to life during World War II. Somebody cast a spell, brought him to life, and he was raised by Professor Broom, Brutenholm, and it's by Mike Mignola. It's deals with all kinds of occult stuff, which I love, and of course, its ancillary titles are great, like BPRD, Plague of Frogs. I think BPRD is even stronger than Hellboy itself. But you'll be hearing more about me and Hellboy as I continue my Hellboy readathon. Now, one book that you may have heard of or may not have heard of is The Goon. This is great, by Eric Powell. This is a book where the Goon has a sidekick named Frankie. Great art, and really sharp, funny writing. And they deal with zombies and other undead occult things. And it is really, really good. There's 5 library editions. And Eric Powell, I'm kind of pissed because not only does he know how to draw really well, but he can ink and write with the best of them. I dig this book. I love all 5 volumes of The Goon. It's not really scary or spooky, but it's got zombies, so I think it qualifies for Spooktober. I highly recommend getting The Goon because it is just a blast, and it's from Dark Horse, so you know it's not expensive. Look at the size of this thing. $40, and you can get it from IST for much cheaper than that. I mean, Dark Horse just puts out a real quality product for not much money. I mean, this thing would cost you $100 if it was put out by DC or Marvel. I don't know how Dark Horse does it, but good for them. That is really good for them. One book I'll give a quick mention to that people seem to love. I haven't read it, as evidenced by the fact that it's still in its plastic. This is Rachel Rising. This is the black omnibus. Now I haven't read it. It's about a woman who keeps coming back from the dead. Everybody that reads it loves it. Now I haven't read it, so I can't say one way or the other. But boy, everybody that reads it loves it. And it is available. This black book isn't available anymore, but it's available in a paperback omnibus and maybe a green hardcover omnibus. But either way, just based on the fact that it gets unanimous praise, I think I can recommend it. It's by Terry Moore, who wrote Echo and Strangers in Paradise, and both of those were great. So that's just a little disclaimer. Haven't read it. Heard lots of great things about it. Another book, well known, Lock and Key, by Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez. The reason I'm highlighting this, everybody already knows about it. It's certainly got great art. It's got great art, and it is super well written. It is akin to a movie where you're saying to the character in the movie, don't go in that door, don't open that door, don't do it. In this book, I'm constantly on the edge of my seat going, don't use that key, because they move into an old house and they find different keys that can open virtually anything, not just doors, other stuff. I don't want to wreck it for you, but it's got an antagonist in it that is super untrustworthy and just malevolent, and you really learn to love to hate him. And I can't recommend this book highly enough. This is Lock and Key. There's 3 deluxe editions. It's by IDW, and it's not expensive. They're still in print. So I definitely can highly recommend Lock and Key. I think it's a well-known book, so people can pretty much go on the internet, find some opinions. I highly recommend it. It's very well-known, almost universally beloved, so I would definitely recommend it to you. Whoa, almost lost all my books. Oh, I forgot to tell you. This is a root beer review. This is Frost Top, my favorite root beer ever. Let me take a sip. Oh, creamy perfection. Now, many of you have asked, where do I get Frost Top? And my answer is, oh. The best thing I can suggest to you is go to frosttop.com. This is how you spell it, Frosttop, frostop.com, and email them and see where it's distributed in your town. The other option is to go on Amazon, where they have it for sale. Now, the beauty of this delicious product is, as you can see, it's $1.39 for this big Herkin bottle. Amazon, it looks like they charge about $3 a bottle, which is still a pretty good deal considering how big this is. They're plastic bottles, so your last resort could be Amazon, where you can order Frost Top, and I believe you will be delighted. It is so smooth and creamy, with no aftertaste that's bad. It is just deliciously delicious. Mmm. Frosty. Okay, let's go on with Spooktober. Let's see. How about Criminal Macabre Omnibus? This is by Steve Niles, the Cal McDonald Mysteries. This guy is an occult detective, and he runs into all kinds of occult shenanigans. It's got snappy dialogue. It's got really good. He deals with monsters and the occult, and now Steve Niles does the whole thing. I like his artwork. I have to tip my cap to Ice Cassie, who recommended the Criminal Macabre to me. And oh, this looks like it is by Kelly Jones. The second one, this is illustrated. Criminal Macabre, the first omnibus, I believe is out of print, but it doesn't go for a lot of crazy money. It's worth tracking down. There's 3 volumes, and it is worth tracking down. I really enjoy his occult detective banter, and he's got an undead helper, which is really cool. And he deals with all kinds of undead, zombies, vampires, occult stuff, and I highly recommend Criminal Macabre. And I think I'm going to end it here for part 1. I got a ton of other books, so I'll do that in part 2, which is coming up next. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on part 2. Have a good Spooktober.